Moving right into our next section. So the next section, I just want to welcome George Chamoun, CEO of ACV. Thanks for spending some time with us today, and congrats on the acquisition that just happened a couple weeks ago.
Thank you, Paul. Can you hear me okay, first off?
I sure can. You look and sound great. Also want to welcome Evan Berney, CEO, founder of CarBiz, CarBiz.com, down in Maryland, making everybody else look like they're trying to catch up when you look at his website. Welcome, Evan.
Thanks, Paul. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. So it's great to have the two of you. I didn't know. I kind of had this instinct that maybe you knew each other, but I realized about half an hour before the show, like maybe I should ask Evan if he knows George before we just kind of put everybody in a room and mix it up. So yeah, there is some relationship. So why don't we do this? Evan, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your store and what you're seeing? I think it's very beneficial right now when dealers hear from other dealers. And so just tell us about where you're located and kind of like how you've come through the last 8 weeks and where you're at right now.
Yep. Thank you, Paul. George, good to see you. So a little bit about our store. We're a marketplace in Baltimore. We have one in DC. At our core, we're an independent dealer. We have taken on the marketing philosophy that that we add on digital retailing is part of our our value proposition to our consumers. We've seen it's just like anybody else. It's been a little bit of ups and downs, and the first few weeks of the COVID were certainly is the sky falling? Is it not? And that's transitioned to obviously a big depression in the business, and then now we've seen a boost. So where we are today is we're about 15 to 20% off in sales if we're trending for the past 2 weeks, much like what Dale was talking about with the pent up demand and the stimulus money getting into the hands of consumers. We're seeing on the fixed operations side, we're seeing it didn't drop off quite as much. We're about 30% off there. And we just anticipate that we've got I don't know what happened there. Can you guys see me?
We can see you and hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got a note there. We anticipate that there's this pent up demand right now, right, with the stimulus and people being home, and even as such that there was tax time got delayed. Customers were trying to transact and then kind of got put to the side where they couldn't transact, and we're kind of we're confident that we're going to see these pockets of demand over the next maybe call it 2 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, because right now there's so many consumers that are not going out. They don't feel safe to go transact. So the transactions that we're having, those are the consumers. It's a small percentage, just like Dale was saying. But I think that there's going to be, over the next few weeks when states open, there's going to be a new set of customers that have been sitting on the sidelines and not feeling comfortable to go out. And then there's going to be customers that even are getting their jobs back. They're reemployed. Now all of a sudden they feel confident. So I feel like we still have these demands, these pockets of demand. So I'm optimistic. What happens after all that's done and how we end off the back half of the year, I think that's anybody's guess.
Well, thank you for that. Can you just give us a quick summary of what the rules are right now in Maryland? They really differ state to state. What state of open is your business? Is Maryland right now?
Yeah, so we've been pretty fortunate that we've been considered essential from the very beginning. When the governor shut down the state with stay-at-home orders, he allowed for car dealerships to remain open with a new set of guidelines. Not strict like in New York or what they just did in Pennsylvania. We've always been able to have customers still come into the showroom and they can enter into our building, but they have to be by appointment only. So, we have all of our doors locked. We have signs on the building, by appointment only. And, by and large, most of the consumers that are out right now, they're by appointment only. So it works out pretty well.
Very good. Thank you for that. George, going to flip to you for a second. Obviously, you have a unique position and unique insights on the used car market and what's going on in the wholesale market. Could you just let us know what you're seeing, in traffic, what you're seeing in demand, and we'll start off there.
Sure. I just first have to say that, for all of those out there that are going through some challenging times, both personally and professionally, I just want to know my heart's out with you all, and Paul, I appreciate how you kicked this whole thing off with a moment of silence and everything, because these are unprecedented times. Um, the I'm seeing a lot of different things. Okay, so in the aggregate, I'll tell you, we're seeing the wholesale volume in our platform get close to back to where it was in early March. So, but that's in the aggregate. But it's really a pockets of a lot of different things. And so when you see someone like Evan, it's sort of very ironic that you put us two together on this call, because Evan happens to be a top 10 producer, top 10%, I would say, sell-through rate and other things. Someone like Evan, whose core business is actually returned closer to back to normal, not back to normal, but closer compared to other dealers. Evan has made he's even buying cars. He's buying cars. He's selling cars. So someone like Evan is doing a lot better than obviously other of our dealers right now. So not that different with what Dale was saying. You've got different states, different things going on around the country. I would say to kind of bring it down to what's consistent is dealers are having to be more digitally oriented. So Evan was already on his path there, right? He already had double-digit percentage of his sales. He was selling retail. I'm first starting with retail before I get to wholesale. He was already double-digit percentage retail. So he was set up for this new world. Many dealers were racing to get digital. So those that were a little bit more prepared for the new world. You had Brian on earlier, who's obviously been a big advocate of this new world, right? Those that have been more prepared for the digital world, regardless of the state, are doing much better than those who it wasn't yet the priority to change. Those dealers that I would say have been more progressive on change, and I'm being both digital and wholesale, and I'll focus wherever you want me to focus on digital or wholesale. Obviously, we now have products on both sides of the table here. But I'm seeing basically that the dealers that were more progressive, the dealers that were ready for digital are in significantly better spot than those that were maybe more stuck in the old ways. And so I could, when I get a little deeper to that, and I talk a little bit about the wholesale side, someone like Evan, and I'm not going to give you his math, he can give you his own math, but he's got a high sell-through rate at wholesale. He's selling his cars, he's buying cars, right? So someone like Evan, you're looking at a dealer like that who's doing really well. Changed their ways, changed their buying, changed their selling. Yep. But all in all, high sell-through rate wholesale, buying certain units, maybe at a different price. Evan, you could tell us. Maybe the stuff you're buying is a different price you were buying. But generally, that's an example of a dealer who's transitioning well. You had Reichard on earlier. Reichard, who's doing very well on our platform wholesale-wise right now. I can't tell you what that means. They would have to give you the data, not me. But doing extremely well on our platform from a wholesale perspective. So I think, Paul, in the aggregate, we're seeing those that were willing to change, maybe, those that are willing to move from the old ways to the new, more modern ways of doing business, those that are a little bit more digitally forward, we're seeing, start to get back to some decent. Those are maybe a little more fixed on the old ways.
Yep.
It's going to be a little bit harder for them. Is that helpful?
Well,
I know
Evan,
I'm being high level.
It is. No, it's good. It's good because it lays a good foundation. Evan, I'm so glad the two of you are together, actually, because we can kind of see high level and boots on the ground. What did your wholesale flow look like before this, and have you adjusted the strategy, or you just continue to execute as you were?
Okay, so wholesale for me is like, we don't have a wholesale business, so to speak, right? We're a retail operation. Whenever we wholesale, it's for the very specific reason to wholesale. So I think the recipe on how you wholesale well is you have the expectation that you're going to get a wholesale price in return for the car when you offer it, and you're going to transact with it, and I think that's kind of where maybe, George and I were talking. I'm sure he kind of smiled when I said this, but it's a little bit where OVE lost its luster, right? Where dealers have high expectations for their wholesale. A dealer that performs well on wholesale is one that their only reason for getting rid of the car is for the wholesale exit strategy. We trade cars and we buy cars off the street, and the cars that we don't put into our retail service go into wholesale. And every time we acquire those cars, 9 out of 10 times, unless a retail car has a mechanical problem, 9 out of 10 times we're buying it with the intention to wholesale, and it's on the money or somewhere near the money, and then we're okay with the strategy to get rid of it as such. So our strategy has not changed. We've continued to buy through COVID, which actually was an area where that really gave us the ability to transact more than others. And over the past 45 days, it's no surprise. I don't think it's a secret, but Carvana stopped buying private party cars, right? And CarMax was harder to transact with than normal because they had guidelines. Either some states they weren't able to be open, some states they could only let X number of people in the building. So whereas they typically had waits before, think about how long the wait was to get a CarMax appraisal. So our competition for buying has actually shrank over the past 45 days. So we've been seeing so much activity there. Now, look, you got to take that with a grain of salt because half of the customers are also going to be a little unrealistic with their expectations because you got to remember you're putting a number on it that is a COVID pricing number, just trying to pull it out sort of out of thin air at times.
It was different. It was different 7 weeks ago.
Exactly.
It was very different number 7 weeks ago.
Is worth, right? But no, just to your point, like our strategy has not really changed, and that's sort of been a benefit to us because we've been able to continue to transact.
So you're saying, but like backing up just for a second, you're saying the fact that you're buying and willing to buy and willing to put a number on the car has been a point of differentiation, as opposed to people who are like, we're not taking in any trades right now. It really limits their ability to transact. Is that what you're saying at large?
100%. I mean, I think things are going to start changing now because obviously, just like Dale was saying, and what I know from experience is that the auction values are recovering, right? So a dealer that may not have put a number on it before because they had no idea how to put a number on it. I mean, you have no idea how many conversations I've had with dealers, friends of mine, and the first question they say is, how do you appraise a car right now, right? In my mind, I don't think it's as complicated because I think you appraise it with your gut, you appraise it with where you think the market's going to be, you appraise it with where it is currently, and you make a decision, right? But a lot of dealers just didn't feel comfortable doing that. Now that auction values are recovering, I mean, you're seeing auction values. I mean, cars are, the right cars, like Dale was saying, $11,000. I mean, those are the kind of cars that we were really going after, and they're going for MMR or 1,000 over MMR today. You got to keep in mind that MMR has been reduced. It's a fluid number, so that's a new MMR than what it was a month ago. So they may not have recovered the whole way, but they're certainly getting better, and it's also pockets of cars. Expensive cars, cars that are $40,000, $50,000, those are pretty challenged, and it's very hard to put a number on those. But you go with your gut.
Paul,
George,
maybe I could on the fly help you.
Go ahead.
In words, try to say what Evan's saying. What Evan says is in his gut. Now, keep in mind, Evan, it's his company. He's the owner. So he's, if you took this as a group, he's like the owner, used car director. He's got multiple stores. He's got a lot going on. But car by car by car, every condition, like why he pays for one car, when we say MMR, what's MMR? Like what is that? It's nothing. It's an average of some selling for 20% higher and some selling for 20% lower. So MMR is not a thing. All right. So when he says gut, let me explain to you what I've learned now for 4 years, what dealers mean by gut. Dealers mean that they have a calculator in their head, and they're adding and subtracting. I'm talking about great used car dealers. I'm not talking about a car dealer. I'm talking about the best used car dealers in the country have a calculator, and they look at the condition of the car. Does it have sunroof? Does it not? Does the right bumper been painted or not? Does the right door has a ding or not? It's a calculator, and then that calculator, that what they call gut, is a very sophisticated gut. It's this mathematical gut. It's this equation that comes out car by car by car that the great used car folks can do, that the average used car platforms can't do for them. Meaning none of them, I'm not saying any of them yet, can actually produce the numeric number of why during COVID or post-COVID for this specific Subaru with this specific condition, they should be buying it right now. Or the handful of Chevy Volts Evan was crazy enough to buy and has already made money on in the last couple weeks that nobody else wanted to touch, and he was willing to buy. So you hear dealers say gut. It's actually a misnomer. Just whenever you guys hear gut in the future, think calculator in the brains of certain human beings that look at the condition of a vehicle, take the averages, go higher or lower. And there aren't great tools in the industry yet today that allow great dealers to take the condition of a car and know what number to put on it. Okay, so I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but I'm on that because great used car dealers use vernacular like gut, and they're literally underrepresenting what they're doing car by car by car.
I think an easier way to put that, so there's been this massive shift over the last 5 years in getting away from saying my gut, right? Don't make a gut decision on a car because there's data that will support, over a 30, 60, or 90-day period, what that car is likely to transact for, informed by real-time data. Now, this situation, there's no data for it, right? Even what's coming in, it's coming in spurts from different governmental regulated areas, so there's no accurate data right now. So gut, that we've moved way away from it because gut really just translates as experience. I'm making this decision based on my experience, right? And it's that calculator that's been programmed over all the years, Evan, and all the thousands of vehicles you've transacted on are all there in that moment, right? So your gut is your experience operating that little calculator. But we've been moving the industry to a point where it's like we're going to make purchasing decisions based on data, right? And it's been getting very, very efficient. The market has become very efficient. The condition of the vehicle, right? Things like OVE and third-party condition reports, all of that helped inform purchases. But now we're in a situation where there's just no real-time data that we can count on. So the dealers that have the gut or have the experience, like Evan, you're just rocking the Chevy Volts, right? Because you can sell it.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about the whole gut and the data is that when dealers use the software provided, right, to come up with the data that they're supposed to be buying and selling the car for, like, we have all these data points that it can give us, but instead, and it can give us an algorithm which puts you to 100% of the market, and you can go from there. You have all that, and then you just disregard it all, and you just look at the segment of cars, and you look at who's selling which car for what price. Carvana's here, CarMax is here, your other independents over here, and that's how you actually determine the price of the car. So you got all this data, and then you resort to less data. But it's a good system to bring it all together.
All right, here we go. We got the closing comments. I'm sorry we're out of time. We're going to continue this conversation because it's a really good one. George, I'm going to give you 30 seconds closing comments, and then Evan will let you say goodbye too. And
Sure.
We'll go with our gut. Go ahead, George. What do you got?
What I'm seeing in this COVID world is not that different than really what we've been evangelizing pre-COVID. It's whether wholesale or retail, it's a trusted condition report, a trusted CR digitally, and coupled with players making the right pricing decisions. And you've got here my co-guest here. Someone both on retail and wholesale who's enabled a trust and transparency sort of religion, if you would, both retail and wholesale. And then he's got a strong understanding of price, wholesale and retail. And it's not by accident he's 85% back to where he was. That's not by accident.
Right. No, it's not.
We all know most of our dealers are like 50% right now. But the fact that he's there on wholesale and retail, the fact that he's got a 90% wholesale sell-through rate in the middle of a crisis, right? He's got average 8 to 9 bidders per car in the middle of a crisis. How does a guy do that? How does he do that in retail? How does he wholesale? I think, and we could have his words on it, it's two things. It's the trust and transparency. Read into that condition report. You know what you're getting, wholesale or retail. And knowing, based on that condition of that asset, in today's circumstances, what to wholesale, what to retail that asset for. And no more averages. Averages, dealers kill their businesses. No more averages. I know it was easy to just look at some tool. I know it made life easier. I get that. Just look at average day supply or this. I get that. I'm learning. I'm learning all your vernacular. But I think the averages hurt you. Car by car by car, wholesale and retail, trust and transparency, know the number on that car. And that's why you got guys like Evan doing well, even at a time like today. Anyways, over to my
I love the perspective, because that's the beauty of an event like this, is that people get multiple perspectives, which is valuable, so people can make good decisions. Evan, you're the star of the show. You got something to say to every dealer that's watching in the country. Go ahead.
I don't think I'm the star. I'm appreciative of George summing up so much. Obviously, the two of you guys are smarter than me, and I love being on the show just to get your perspectives. But look, digital, wholesale, retail, you got to normalize the whole thing, right? Like, get comfortable with where we are today. Get comfortable with ACV Auctions, some of the other ones, whether they stick around or not. Manheim Express, whatever it may be, simulcast. I don't think some of these things are going to go back to the way they were. Digital retailing, get comfortable. We've been doing it for 3 years now. A full legitimate, part of our business for 3 years now. It's only helped us in the long run. And today we've gone from selling 13 to 15% totally sight unseen online transactions to, in the past 30 days, we're close to 30% now. We've increased even in the past week. So you got to normalize these things. You got to give consumer confidence that this is what you do. This is how you can buy our products. And if you do that, and if you're successful at it, and you don't just give it the old college try and say, yeah, we deliver cars, and you actually make it part of your model, it's gonna provide benefits, and it's only gonna get better in the future, and it's gonna be more prominent in the future. That if you don't have it, you're gonna get left behind. So digital, all the way retail, all the way wholesale, get ready for it.
Awesome session.
Really
George,
appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. It's been fun.
George and Evan, thank you so much. We'll do this again.
Be well,
Talk to you soon.
Be healthy. Thank you. Bye-bye.